Hey, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie countdown. Now, yesterday we did the top 10 most entertaining films of 2020, and now we are coming back with the 10 best films of 2020. Sam, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I've been better, Lou. But last night was very fun, and that was a very fun list. Hopefully everybody goes and checks that out. It was long, but I promise you, it's one of the most entertaining lists I think I've ever gone through. So definitely highly recommend y'all check it out.
So today, just like yesterday, today, neither one of us know each other's top 10 movies of the year. Have the slightest idea. I'm expecting a Chinese cartoon somewhere in Sam's top 10. I'm almost 100% sure it's going to be one of them in there somewhere. I don't know what to expect out of my top 10. Foolishness is the best word to put. So let's start this off, Sam. Well, let's do the honorable mention. What is your honorable mention movie that did not crack your top 10?
All right, let me go through my honorable mention. So, man, I actually have like a bigger honorable mention list than I did last time because I feel like honestly, all of these could have been considered to be in the top 10. It just didn't hit my list, and I'll just kind of briefly go through them.
We're supposed to give you one, and you're about to give us a list.
3, 4
honorable mentions.
These are my 5 honorable mentions. I'm just gonna mention them in name. I'm just mentioning them in name. I'm not gonna go into the IMDb page of it. One was The Sound of Metal. I thought that Rami actually did a really good job, but I think the atmospherics of the way that they did it in the moment where he started to lose like his sense of sound and the way the movie kind of felt, like I really did enjoy the film. And I watched it twice. We looked at it, I think, the Middleburg, and then I ended up watching it again later on, and I was like, man, this is really good. News of the World, Tom Hanks. I thought that, it was some really interesting chemistry going on between Tom Hanks and this young girl. Some of the environmental things they did with it, I really dug. It just wasn't in my top 10. I don't know how to really articulate it. Greyhound, Apple TV Plus. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was probably one of the better like war-centered films and period piece films in a while. But I don't know. It was kind of like, it wasn't that it was bad. It just didn't hit that number. And I don't think it was just because it came out much earlier. It just doesn't hold up to me. My number 4 honorable mention was One Night in Miami. I couldn't get it in my top 10. And I love that joint. I straight up love that film. And like honestly, I love the music. I love the chemistry. I love the dialogue. I just couldn't get it in my top 10 at all. And then my last honorable mention, I have to ask Lucas about this one because I don't know because we were going back and forth yesterday whether or not what counted and what didn't. So my honorable mention that I was talking about is Malcolm and Marie. So I saw Malcolm and Marie this year, but it doesn't.
It's nominated,
count, right?
No, it's nominated this year. Like it's in the award season run this year, so it counts.
So it could have been on my list. All right, well, screw it. It's in honorable mentions. It's gonna stay there. But first off, the dialogue and the amount of it was raw, bro. I don't even know how to any way kind of put it. Like it was like watching a MMA fight on an acting level. Like they went for it. There was no holding back. It was just them. And the way that they shot this film was really just around this like encampment area that this man lived. But it was like everything surrounding it. It was so meaty. It was so engaging. It was hilarious at times. And then I was like, yo, this is getting so freaking dark. And I don't know, man. I really did enjoy it. This is right now my top film of 2021 for me. But I didn't put it in my groupings for 2020. So it is what it is. Either way, I say that their performances alone like would make me want to go back and watch this again just off the dialogue. I have to give the director credit from the way he wrote it and the way that they performed it. It was really amazing. Those are my honorable mentions. I'm gonna stop.
We're gonna get into this honorable mention because you did 5. I'm gonna do 5 since you did 5 honorable mentions.
That's a bet. Let's do it.
But Malcolm and Marie, I am constantly hearing comparisons to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. As like this is playing closer like a Hollywood version remake of that film. Have you seen Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I'm going to ask that first.
No, but I'm gonna pull it up really quick because I've heard of it.
So for people that don't know, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf plays out in a room. It is a couple who having a dinner party with another couple, but that couple goes back and forth at each other in the most cruelest way humanly possible.
Yeah.
It is hard to watch that married couple go at each other in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And that's what a lot of people are comparing Malcolm and Marie to.
Is this the right one? Is this the movie?
Let's see no, that says Vagina. Vagina Wolf. Sam. Oh man. Wow,
there it goes.
Now, that one's I need to now see Who's Afraid of that one, but that's not the movie I was talking about.
Okay,
this is it right here.
Okay.
Now
this came out in 1966.
This got nominated for every award humanly possible. Wow. I can't remember off the top of my head, which I shouldn't because it came out in 1966. I can't remember off the top of my head if it won anything. 1, 2, but boy, 3, it is
interesting. So it's only 4 people that were in this in total.
It virtually is close to the same setup as Malcolm and Marie. So this is the film it gets compared to a lot. It's getting compared to this movie and Marriage Story, which amazingly is kind of a remake of Kramer versus Kramer. So I'm guessing they're saying like it plays off the same way. So I just had to ask. But since you haven't seen it, please go check it out. Then let me know if it's comparable to that film.
Well, maybe I'm gonna watch it and then we can review it together. But I can, if I'm just comparing it off of Marriage Story, what Marriage Story did on the harshness levels of certain moments and scenes, it looks like child's play compared to what they do in Malcolm and Marie. I'm so serious. Like,
and that means it is closer to Virginia Woolf because that's the comparison they gave Kramer versus Kramer to Virginia Woolf is that they are brutal with each other in Virginia Woolf. Like it almost means a situation where they had no business even being together.
Yeah. I can't. I got an embargo. I got to wait till Friday. But let's just say, like, the depths that they went through with their interaction, I ain't never seen anything quite like it. To be quite honest with you, and they just didn't stop. But it was amazing, man. I ain't gonna front. It's right now my top in 2021. All right, so now we gotta go. I'm
gonna run through very quickly my five honorable mentions, even though I was prepared for 1, but I do actually have 5. So starting out at number 5 of my honorable mentions is The Way Back with Ben Affleck. I talked about it in our last review.
You did.
I believe this is Ben's best performance, and I still believe this is a top 5 performance of the year. The movie is emotional. It pulls at your heartstrings. The relationship between him and his wife and his kid, him attempting to overcome drinking, like him trying to teach these kids values. It is amazing of a movie. And in a year that wasn't as packed as this one, this possibly would have got nominated to me, but unfortunately, it's not even in my top 10. At number 4 for me is News of the World. This is something I was waiting for this movie. And while I love Tom Hanks in this movie, it just doesn't go over the top for me the way I needed it to go.
Yeah.
I thought we would get an outstanding performance from Tom Hanks, but we got a great performance from Tom Hanks.
Exactly.
But it wasn't enough to carry the movie further that it needed to go to make this movie great.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
My number 3 is Mank from Netflix that did not make it. I love David Fincher. I love the way this movie was shot. And the biggest flaw to me, unfortunately, was the lead performance. It did not give me what I needed for me to be like, yes. I mean, I'm gonna say her name right, Amanda Stanfield. She's gonna get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She's amazing in this movie. But whenever you lead on a supporting actress to carry your film, and it's not a full ensemble piece, you're gonna struggle. That's why Mink did not make my top 10.
Man, you got to upset Jarrell, man. Look, you got to be careful with that one. Hopefully he ain't watching this live stream right now.
I'm just saying it's a good movie. It just didn't make my top 10. The next film, which I think that would be my second to last film for it, is Possessor. Which, listen,
I didn't see that.
This is a very sick movie, and I love very sick movies. This is an amazing sci-fi. If you are a sci-fi fan, this is better than Blade Runner 2040, whatever. Like, this is a true sci-fi horror film. You have to see it, from the body swapping that goes on, to the assassinations that go on, to Sean Bean that goes on. Like, this movie is super crazy. And it just, when I say just missed my top 10, it just missed my top 10. Because I really wanted it in my top 10, and I couldn't find a movie. Hold on, I gotta get my phone so I could look at my top 10 to make sure. I couldn't find a movie to take out to replace it with, but it is definitely a movie that everyone should see, especially if you like sci-fi. And the last one for me is The Nest.
Is that the one with
Ethan Hawke? Yeah. And this movie, up until maybe 3:30 today, was in my top 10.
Oh, the Jude Law film.
Jude Law. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jude Law. This was in my top 10. And then I went over my top 10 again, and it fell out of my top 10. But this is a great movie with great performances in it. I don't even know if it's out yet. I'm trying to remember.
It's not because I still have it on the ILM screener joints.
But
like,
it is a great movie, and it just missed my top 10.
Wow.
So those are my 5. Those are my 5.
No, that's fair. So the Possessor, the reason why I haven't personally seen it, because I didn't want to watch no exorcism crap.
It's nothing of that nature.
But the way the picture
the basic setup is you're in the future. Assassins are taking over other people's bodies to kill people. It is sick. It is great. It is well acted, well written, amazingly directed. This is a movie. Again, if you are a lover of sci-fi, you have to watch this movie. There's no reason why you shouldn't know this movie. And it took me a while to watch this movie. I watched this movie a month ago. I had been avoiding it because I didn't know what it was about. And when I saw it, it blew me away. I've seen it since I saw it the first time a month ago. I've seen it 6 times. It's literally a movie I can watch over and over again. I'm surprised it didn't get into my most entertaining movie list.
Did you review it?
It's one of the movies right late in 2020, and I was going to review it, and I said, it was hard to squeeze it in right at the end of 2020 to review it. But I am going to drop a review for it because it deserves one. Again, it's a great sci-fi film.
Just as long as they ain't got no exorcism craziness, I'll watch it.
No exorcisms in it. It is not that type of.
Bet I'll watch that. I'll watch it. Okay, so
now we done ran through the prelude of our 5 honorable mentions. Now, Mr. Leggett, what is your number 10 movie of 2020?
My number 10 is Wolfwalkers.
I knew it.
Wolfwalkers almost didn't make it. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because if Malcolm Marie was considered, Wolfwalkers would have took it.
It should have been considered. I don't know why you didn't consider that.
Because I looked at it in 2021. It wasn't out in 2020. Anyway, Wolfwalkers to me not only is one of the best animated films this year, like it is beautiful in its look, but it's rich in its value. It feels like it was pulled off a page of those old like folklores, like those classic tales that you would kind of hear, and they're just bringing it to life better than what Disney or Pixar could have done, or even DreamWorks, to be quite honest with you. Because one of the things that it bothers me personally is that they've lost any kind of sense of 2D animation. 2D animation to me is just crafted, and the mannerisms and the social embrace of where things can go with certain characters, it really takes it to different levels with 2D animation. I might be a purist in that, even though I appreciate what they do with 3D animation, even though I love the leaps and the possibilities where they're going with it, you know what I'm saying? But to be honest, Soul isn't on my top 10 list. This is over Soul. And it's not even saying that Soul isn't something that is amazing, isn't something that's important. But I think that the way that they crafted this film and just the characters and the layers behind it, it was just so beautiful, so simplistic, but also multi-layered in different ways. Whether it's the traditional style of how they made it, or whether it was just the way that they pushed it from a narrative standpoint, I just really appreciated it. And that's why I made my top 10. It's my number 10.
I knew you was going to get... It's not technically a Chinese cartoon, but it's close. It's really, really close.
Look, if you're asking me if I have any anime in this, I do not.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, my number 10 is a movie that I reviewed. I think it was my actual first review of 2020. And that is Emma.
Interesting.
Again, this was a film that as I went over the year again and again and again, it was always kind of close to my top 10, but I kind of always pushed it down and said, well, Anna Taylor-Joy is outstanding as Emma in this movie, but I kept on finding reasons for it not to be in my top 10. And then I decided to watch it again last week, and I said, oh, this is one of the best adaptations of Emma I've ever seen.
Wow.
Everything in this movie works. She's a delight in this movie. It is something that if you're a fan of this type of film and set in these time periods, you'll be blown away by her performance. And at the time I was measuring her performance in this one versus Gwyneth Paltrow's performance in the 1996 version of this. And it's just outstanding. Like, again, for a film that came out in, I want to say January of this year, like this is a film that, because it's so far removed from award season, that it's not going to get the accolades that it should. But this is beautifully shot, amazingly acted. Everybody in the cast is amazing in this movie. Like everything about Emma works. And I'm just sad that because it released so early in the year, we're not going to be able to get the attention or everything it needed to get its award season run. But if you have not seen it, check it out. It's an amazing adaptation of Jane Austen's Emma.
I mean, maybe she might end up getting like Golden Globes Best Actress.
Well, we know she's going to get a nod for Golden Globes for something else. But yeah, she should win for this movie. Like her, this is actually a top 10 performance of this year.
Interesting. For
her in Emma. But again, it released at the end of last season's awards run, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So what is your number 9, sir?
This is going to be very interesting because we've never even talked about this. I don't even think I told you that I watched it. Let me pull it up. So my number 9, if it'll pull up, is The Personal History of David Copperfield. Dev Patel plays the role of David Copperfield. Now, when I first watched this, I was like, oh, snap, David Patel's about to play this magician. Bet. All right, let's see what's going on. And then I realized, no, it's not the magician. It is, the actual David Copperfield based on the books and based on the man. And the way that they actually did it, I felt like it was one of the most engaging, rich, vibrant, funny, dark films that I've seen, honestly, all year. And I couldn't remove it from my brain because this is the thing. Like, the cast in and of itself was kind of like, it threw me off. You got Tilda Swinton up here. You got Hugh Laurie from House, and you got Dev Patel, and then you got like a whole bunch of no-name people spread it throughout. But hear me, anybody that watches this, when you start to watch it, like, you're going to get drawn in to his story, even in the way they actually tell the story, from his humble beginnings to the way that he's narrating it to the different atmospheric things that are happening throughout. But honestly, Dev Patel does an amazing performance. And it's just weird because I could recommend this to people, but nobody would have ever known about this film. I'd be like, David Copperfield, what? I ain't studying that, man.
Hey, that's the first thing I thought of was the magician. I'm not gonna lie.
But again, this is something that I could easily recommend to Lucas to watch, and I think that he would find something very special about it, as well as any of you guys. If you have the opportunity, definitely go and check out The Personal History of David Copperfield. That is my number 9 currently.
Okay. Now, my number 9 is a film that we've talked a lot about.
Oh my God.
And look, at one point I tried not to put it in my top 10. It just wasn't gonna happen.
Wait, what?
This movie has no release date.
Why are you doing this?
It has no distribution. But man, my number 9 is The Boy Behind the Door.
I ain't studying you.
Look here. On our list yesterday, it was my most entertaining film of 2020. Here is the number 9 best film for me of 2020. If you heard us rave about this movie yesterday, same rules apply here. These are 2 amazing performances by young actors on an amazing script, amazingly directed, written, everything. I can't talk enough about this movie. Like, this is what a great thriller should be. And you don't get great thrillers often anymore in Hollywood because they all tend to bend closer to horror and then closer to jump scares. This one didn't need jump scares. It scared you just from Lonnie Chavis's performance. The terror he feels is the terror the audience feels.
Yep.
This is why this is my number 9. I'm not gonna disgleam over this movie all the time because we did that for a long time yesterday. But Boy Behind the Door is my number 9 movie of 2020. And I don't care that it doesn't have a release date yet, Sam, because I saw it in 2020.
Okay. I ain't saying nothing. I'm leaving it alone. I'm about to pull up my
number 8 movie, sir.
My number 8 movie, I'm almost certain it is somewhere on your list, and it is Nomadland. Frances McDormand. Wow. She kills it. I don't know any other way to put it. She embraced the role of this person named Fern, who lost everything, who literally lost her whole town, her identity, and her connection with humanity to go outside the norm and live as a nomad. And the weird thing about this, honestly, only the comparison I can give it to is when Joaquin Phoenix decided to go and shoot that movie where he was like becoming a rapper. Or we thought it was real.
Where am I? Or that joke. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it's not so much like from a story standpoint, but just the way she just goes into this. It feels like she really decided to do this. and she just lived amongst these people, and they just were recording her in the most beautiful ways possible, because some of the shots are amazing. The landscape is amazing. The situations feel real and visceral. And even the lengths that she goes to with certain things and jobs that she does, and conversations she had with random people, it felt so natural. It felt so real that I was thrown off by it. And I couldn't help but be captivated by not just her performance, but the way that the story was being told through her performance. And I can't remember who is the director for this, because is it Chloe Zeno?
Yeah, I think she's the favorite right now.
Yeah,
she's the favorite for best director.
Yeah, and I think that she's working on the Eternals for Marvel. Marvel snatched her up real quick. But anyway, I really did enjoy this film, and it is my number 8.
It is definitely on my list. It is not that low on my list, but it is definitely on my list. Now, my number 8 is a film that it's a chance, Sam, is actually on your list.
Oh, Lord.
And that is Promising Young Woman, which is my number 8 film, because it has an amazing tour de force performance in it. This movie, again, I love sick movies. I absolutely love sick movies. And this movie is one of the sickest movies of the year, with an ending that could be the best ending of the year. The way this film wraps up, it is amazing. It caught me off guard. I did not know what I was getting into when I went to go see this movie. But all I can say is, for something that's built like a revenge type drama type pick, it's still amazingly funny. And I don't purposely know if it was meant to be as funny as it was to me, but it has those dark comedic moments that it was a Vince Vaughn film. I'm blanking out right now, where they killed a girl, and they all had to try to hide the body. And it was that type of dark comedy. That's what Promising Young Woman is to me.
Yeah, I remember
that type of dark comedy with Carey Mulligan. I hope I'm saying her name right.
Yeah, Carey Mulligan. Yep.
Man, her performance is possibly the second best performance I've seen this year.
Yeah,
from an actress, and she kills it. She carries this entire movie.
Yep.
On her shoulders, and you care so much about her character in this film. And even when the character does horrible things, you still care about what's going to be the outcome for her. And that's what makes this movie so good. So my number 8, Promising Young Woman.
So I just got to talk about this real quick. She is in my top 3 best female performances this year.
Yes.
And it's the weird thing, because she be playing these one note kind of same typecasted roles. This was the first one, and I was like, oh, she can act. Yes. Oh my gosh. Like, when I watched that joint, I was like, is this the same chick? Matter of fact, the first shot that you see of her, I was like, is that Michelle Williams? Wait, who is that? Nah, that ain't Michelle. Oh, snap. But no, she was amazing. And he's right. It was very dark. Like, it felt like anything could happen. And I haven't, there's certain movies that you watch, you're like, yo, anything can happen at any moment. And this was one of those films. And he's right. At the end of the film, it is near perfect, because it is what's the word? It's hurtful. It is uplifting, and yet it is shocking in so many different ways, because you're trying to figure out and piece together everything that happened up until that point. But yeah, so I say all that to say it ain't on my list. But anyway, and I'm gonna say why, because she is amazing. The construction of this film is amazing, but it's not there.
Wow.
Yeah. I had to leave that little bit of shock in there. Anyway, what number we at?
We at number 7, sir. What is your number 7?
So Number 7. This is a film we've already talked about already, and this is something you've already talked about, so I don't have anything to say about it. The Boy Behind the Door. Look, yesterday when you said, "Oh, it counts," I changed my list up. I removed so much crap around. That's why my back half list got cut to smithereens, because I was like, I'm putting the daggone movie up there, fam. I don't care what I gotta do. It is easily one of the best horror movies I've seen this year. What are you gonna do? Like, I'm saying, the performances, the way they handled it, the way that they, I mean, I don't even know the way to put it, bro. Like,
we have people fiending to see this movie because of the way we talk. I literally have had calls like, "Hey, man, where's this movie at? You keep on talking about." Like, y'all don't understand. I can't wait for other people to see this movie. Yeah, this movie is great.
Shouts out to Also Real, your boy Jorge. He's probably watching this right now. He was like, "Man, where can I watch this joint, man? Do I have to bootleg this joint? Like where is it?" I was like, "Look, I'll talk to the directors. I'll ask them, but it's not for your distribution yet. We have no idea. We are hoping, we are advocating for this thing to be released because we want you guys to see it and talk about it. That's all. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Wow, number 7.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, it was close. We were. Hey. I was like, I won't go say
it. Well, my number 7 film is a movie that, if you are a film critic in DC, that's what I'm gonna start off with this.
Oh,
this movie was screened at least 8 times. Every time I turned around, this movie was screened, and I avoided going to every screening of this movie, and happened to see it later on, and that is First Cow. Is my number 7 film. The basic setup of First Cow is it's these 2 ranchers who are being hunted down by this group that wants them dead, and it's about them attempting to build a better life. They're using someone else's land to try to make their fortune, and part of the land is a prized possession cow they use to hash their scheme with. It sounds ridiculous, but this is one of the best time period dramas that I have seen. It completely amazed me because I knew no one in this movie. And again, I avoided this movie for, I want to say, 4 months.
Wow.
Sam sent me repeated, like, we even had chances to interview the director and the stars of this movie. And I said, I don't want to watch anything called First Cow. And now I look back and I am extremely sad that I missed the opportunity to watch this movie and to interview these people. The performances are amazing. The score, this is one of the few scores that really captured me this year. Like it encompassed everything I love about film. It's a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
For a minute, I thought it was done by Taylor Sheridan, by the way it's pacing and the way it was set up. It's an amazing film that if you have a chance to see it, you need to see it. Again, it's not a big film. It is going to get some awards attention, but I want to say it got some indie award attention already. But it is being brought up now as possibly a surprise for the Golden Globes and maybe the Oscars. This is a really, really good movie. This movie is what I thought News of the World would be.
Interesting.
So my number 7 is First Cow.
So this movie came out last year, or did it come out 2019?
Its awards push is for 2020.
Okay.
This movie came out early 2020. Like, I still have messages from you sending me about, hey, you want to screen First Cow? And me constantly is like, nope. I don't want to see that movie at all. And I kept on saying, I don't want to see that movie at all. I think it was screening around the time Quiet Place 2 was screening.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very early in 2020 that this movie was screening. And I think it was released at the wrong time of the year. This is a movie that should have been held until now, until like the December, November time frame. Because if it was, this film would be talked about as a top 3 film of the year by some critics.
Is it available right now on streaming?
Is it Amazon it is available on right now? It may be. It may be Amazon that's available on right now.
Can't see.
Oh, Hulu.
Yeah, I see. Yep. Showtime, Hulu, and Prime.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so you guys, you can watch it. I'm gonna have to watch it myself. So you guys are more than capable of it.
Like slow burns that are skillfully done, crafted. Again, this is what I thought News of the World was going to be. It's an amazing movie with amazing performances.
Yeah,
and that's my number 7. So, what is your number 6? Supercell 0320.
You know I ain't gone by that in years. You're probably the only one that still remembers that. I can't believe how many times I even said that. My number 6. Is that right?
Yep, number 6.
My number 6 is Minari. When we were at the Middleburg Film Festival, I told Lucas, I was like, I don't care what you watch, I just gotta see this. Because so many people were talking about it. I was like, I don't care what I gotta do. Please let me see it. And the crazy thing is, I asked to get it, but I couldn't get it. I had to go and do all these certain things just to get it. And then I finally watched it in one night, and I was honestly blown away by the chemistry of the family, how natural the progression of how things went, whether it was the dialogue between the grandmother and the grandson, whether it was the grandson doing certain things to stifle the family, even though he had his own illnesses. Specifically, Stephen Yeun's performance when it came to him and his wife, like it was just so many back and forth lines of dialogue that felt really real from a real place that were layered. It wasn't just like, okay, well, he wants to go from where he used to live. He wants to make a better life for his family. Like, no, there's reasons for it. And as you're watching it, you get to see the sacrifices that each of the parties have made to get to where they are. And it might all be in vain. As well as, what's my man? Duvall. What was his name? Not Duvall. Will Patton. Will Patton in this, he plays this religious man. And I loved him. I was like, he's weird, he's cringy, but he had the heart, man. I really did love his performance in this one. It was unlike any, performance I've seen him play in a long time. Yep. And it really does come off really weird, but I really felt this need for it, this reprieve, where some of the serious tones and serious things that were happening. And also like some of the religious things that he was doing inside the house was really interesting. But anyway, that is my number 6.
That is an amazing movie on so many levels. I love that movie. I hated that at times it gets looped in with Parasite, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's a movie that can stand on its own. I love the family dynamic in the movie. I love the performances in the movie. Like the lead, I can't ever say his name right.
Stephen Yeun?
Yeah. I always say Stephen Yo. Clearly it's Stephen Yeun. He should get a nomination for Best Actor this year for this movie because he's great in this film. It's already been announced by the Hollywood Foreign Press that it cannot be nominated for Best Picture by them.
God,
it has to be a Best Foreign Film, and it will not be able to get anything else. It's absolutely stupid that they did that to this movie. And again, everything Sam said is an amazing movie. And to the extent of everything Sam said, it is actually my number 6 movie.
Oh, stop. We've done it again, you guys. We found a way.
This was my number 6 movie of the year for all the reasons that Sam said. I mean, I love this movie. And when we had the chance at Middleburg to see it, again, I didn't see it at Middleburg. I saw it months later after Middleburg, and I was amazed by this movie. It is really good. It's a needed family drama from minority group that we as Americans don't get to see these type of films for.
I agree.
And it works so well. I mean, for the last couple of years between this, Parasite, and The Farewell, like, we're clearly getting to see this minority group and the way their families function in a better light than we're accustomed to getting.
Yeah.
And this is just continuing that trend of great films. But that is also my number 6 film.
That's ridiculous, man.
Now,
and this is the crazy thing, y'all. We haven't had this conversation. We haven't talked about our list at all. We haven't even talked about this movie
at all. We've never talked about this movie.
We never had a conversation whether or not we even liked it or what. Like, he had no idea what I felt about it, and I had no idea what he felt about it. So this list that we're going through is actually it's waking me up, y'all. It's waking me up. I'm getting excited.
Now here's when we get down to the nitty gritty, which is the top 5 of 2020. So, Sam, what do you have at number 5?
So I know for a fact our top 5 is not going to be the same. Some stuff might be there, but
we may have some movies the same, but they may not be in the right order.
Some might be the same, but I'm gonna pick this one up really quick. Come on, baby. Got it. I'm gonna read this off actually because it's important. Because the last time I couldn't even.
Hopefully, we don't come up with the same number 5.
It's impossible.
Would be hilarious.
It's impossible.
Oh, okay.
It's impossible. You haven't even seen this. I don't. Anyway.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
All right, so my number 5 is actually a documentary. Okay,
it's not on my list.
See that? I told you. The Collective. This is the description of it. The director Alexander Nanu follows a crack team of investigators at the Romanian newspaper at the Gazeta as they try to uncover a vast healthcare fraud that enriches Mongols and politicians and led to the deaths of innocent civilians. The thing about this film that threw me off is that the way that it's shot, the way that it's filmed, is filmed like a professional film. It's not like, it doesn't feel like a documentary at all.
Okay.
And the consequences of things that are happening, like there's a scene where, people are just dying in a club or people are just infected randomly. And then you got this one news reporter, he's kind of talking with his guys. They're trying to uncover what's going on. Then the politician gets killed, even though they're implying that he's the one that's been covering all the stuff. And I was like, things are just happening like this and this and this and this. And I was like, this don't feel like a documentary. This feels like a made up movie. But the way that they shot it is such that I haven't seen a documentary done like this. It was like whoever did the documentary work, whoever did the filmography, whoever, watched and oversee how things went through time, made it in such a way that it feels just like a adaptation of what happened. But really, they're actually filming it in real time of how things are going. And honestly, I haven't seen anything like it. Like I really undercut it when I did my review. But the more I thought about it, is I was like, this is one of the top films I've seen this year, to be quite honest.
So we had to talk about documentaries, and between I didn't know if, when you said you had a documentary in your top 10, I didn't know if it was going to be MLK versus the FBI or if it was going to be the Billie Holiday one.
Look, we already talked about this 2021 joint. I told you this 2021 MLK came out for me. I looked at it just yesterday. I can't.
But we had it at the Middleburg Film Festival and we skipped it.
We did?
Yes, we did. We had it at the middle. We had that, the Collective, 76 Days. We had every documentary at the Middleburg Film Festival, and we just didn't see them.
Well, I'm gonna say this: the MLK / FBI, it's a lot. It's amazing, but it is a whole lot. I definitely recommend you go and check it out. I mean, this is Martin Luther King's birthday, so definitely I have to give it a shout out. Go and check out my full review for it. It is right now on our YouTube page. but it is bone-crushingly insane on both sides of what really was the reality, as well as the implications that are going to be coming out later on in February of 2027 when everything does get unraveled and they go into detail about. But yeah, that was, I'll be talking about that more later for the next list.
Wow. So my number 5, I'm 100% sure is on your list. 1,000% sure is on your list. And that is The Trial of the Chicago 7. My number 5 movie of 2020. Now, as a fan of Aaron Sorkin and as a fan of his work, this movie is a piece of art. It's so many great performances in it. I think when me and Sam reviewed it at the time, I said Yaya had the best supporting performance of the year, but then I couldn't leave out everyone else's performance in this movie. This is a powerful movie. It's a well-written film that feels at times like it could have been a play, but it never at times dwells into what One Night in Miami and Ma Rainey does when it just doesn't feel like a film.
Yeah.
From the whole setup of it with Sasha like narrating the events from a stage of what took place and why we are at this trial, to Eddie Redmayne's performance as the leader of this group.
Oh my goodness.
To Mark Reinitz. We talked about it yesterday. We never say his name right.
Oh, Mark Rapace.
Yes, his performance as the lawyer in it. Like this, it's an amazing cast. And everyone is good in this movie. It is powerful. It is uplifting. It is tragic. It's everything you want in a great film.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about it, though. Because Sam's going to gush over it when it's his number 1 movie. So, and number 5 for me is The Trial of the Chicago 7.
All right. Okay. So now we're going to top 4, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I had to special add this one in. And that might be why The Promising Young Woman never made it into this one. Because we were going back and forth on it, whether or not we could even consider these. But I gotta bring it up. Let's see if I can pull it up now. Yeah, there we go. So my number 4 is Small Axe Mangrove. Mangrove, I'll read the synopsis for you. Mangrove tells us true story of the Mangrove Nine, who clashed with the London police in 1970. The trial was the first judicial acknowledgement of the behavior motivated by racial hatred within the Metropolitan Police. Now, this is a Steve McQueen film. Like, all of these technically are Steve McQueen's short films that are made to be episodic. None of them are tied together other than the people that are going through these, whether these are fictional. I think, honestly, out of all 5, it's technically based on 4 different real true life events. And this is one of the ones that's based on a true life event. This one, though, the performances, the emotion, the rawness of what was really happening. Because technically it starts off with this guy. He's just trying to have this nice little mangrove like shop. Like, he just wanted to have a place where people can get good Caribbean food and be able to chill. And he's just getting completely harassed. And you're trying to figure out, like, man, what is the vendetta this cop or these people have against him? But then you're realizing this is the norm. This is being allowed it. And no matter how much he's doing the right thing, he's getting completely oppressed, where he has to lean upon people that are more radicalist on side and then people that were more socialist on side. But no matter what, it all goes to trial. And to me, it really was reminiscent of some of the things that I loved about the trial of Chicago 7, but this was a lot more darker. This is a lot more real. This is a lot more, I don't know. It was some performance in this one were just devastating to me. Some of the things that I actually really got to see in this one, some of the most devastating scenes I've seen all year were in this film. And I couldn't, remove it from my list, even if it was technically on an episodic level. This was an amazing spectacle of the film with some of the best performances of the year to me.
That has been the biggest talk about this film, is that should it be represented as a movie or as a TV series? And Steve has come out and said it's a TV series. So I think that's what throws people off from naming it as the best movie or one of the best movies, even though some publications have named Mangrove as one of the best movies of the year. I still have not seen this movie because I feel if I see it, I need to watch all of them. And I don't know if I want to sit through all of them.
So I mean, I'm gonna say like none of them are tied together. Not one of them are tied together at all. And this movie is like 2 hours and 7 minutes long. This is the longest out of all of them.
Is it that the message is tied together? For him to say that it's meant to be watched as a TV series, is it a universal message in all the films that he feels that way? Which I'm assuming it's racism and persecution and all of that together is a going theme for all of them.
I would say that the West Indian side of it, like trying to just make it in between the eras of the 1970s all the way up to the 2000s would be the theme for it. And definitely there's oppression there. There's racial bias. There's civil unrest there. There's like self-hatred there. But definitely that worry and that dread of persecution is definitely there. But more so to me, I've always felt it like the West Indian community trying to just make it and raise their kids and their children to make it as well, or just make it for themselves. I think that that's more so the theme, but none of them are coincided. None of them, even the events that happen, are connected in any way, shape, or form. None of the other actors show up on any of the other short films.
Oh, okay. I may have to check this out finally since I've been delaying watching it.
Yeah, because if you're going to watch, I would say look at Education too. That's another one. That's like the fifth one.
You're just adding to the list.
I'm just adding it one more. That's it. Anyway, what's your
now? My number 4 is a film that I reviewed late in 2020. Actually, I saw it from the Middleburg Film Festival, and I finally dropped the review for us right close to the end of the year. I'm going to have to definitely read the synopsis of this movie because it's the only foreign movie on my list. And that is The Night of Kings. And here's a quick synopsis of it. A young man is sent to La Mecca, a prison of the Ivy Coast in the middle of the forest ruled by its prisoners. With the red moon rising, he is designated by the boss to be the new Roman and must tell a story to the other prisoners. This is one of the best fantasy films you will ever see, and its setting for a fantasy film is ridiculous. At the beginning of the film, you meet this young man who becomes a Roman, and he is dropped off in the prison. Okay. And we get to see the world of the prison. We get to see how the inmates run everything, how every little section seems like a city. We see how vibrant and how scary it looks when he's dropped in the middle of this prison. And then we get to the big boss who is on his last leg. He's about to die. But as rules of the prison, if you're the boss and you're about to die, you're supposed to commit suicide. You're supposed to take the soldier's way out. Instead, he picks another Roman to tell a story to the prisoners. Now, here's the catch. Once the Roman story is finished, the Roman is killed. He lives as long as his story goes on. When we get to the point of this young kid who doesn't know anything about this, being dropped in the middle of it and him having to tell a story, that's when this film takes off to another level. As he sits in the middle and he's telling his story to the prisoners, we see the prisoners acting out his story. As we see them acting out his story, we get cuts from the director showing us the story in a movie perspective.
What?
Yes. And then it translates back to the prisoner showing it back to the movie perspective of it being shown. It is true fantasy. And it is the best directed film of the year. This movie, as I said in my review, this movie is a tour de force performance by the director.
Interesting.
While the performances are good, his shot selection in this movie is uncanny. The way he sets up the shots, the editing of this film, the cinematography of this film, this movie is amazing on so many levels. I'm trying to think. He did one other movie that I really, really liked, and I can't remember, but you pulled up his IMDb page, so you should be able to help me out here. It's not Run, but needless to say, A Night of Kings is just a type of immersive film that once you get into it, you're going to get hooked. And whether you like foreign films, whether you have an issue with reading them, this is just a film that you can sit back and enjoy visually and be blown away by. But there are still great performances in it. When you see La Mecca, this huge prison, and the way this prison feels like a city, and you're seeing warlords fight over a prison, people. When you see warlords fight over a prison and the honor and integrity they must have for this prison to continue to work, it will blow you away. That is my number 4 movie, Night of Kings, which we happen to be able to screen. And I think it was one that I actually picked for Middleburg. And I said, I want to see this movie.
You did.
And one of the few movies I picked, like, I have to see this movie. And it was based off of the director and past work that I said, this movie could be really special. And boy, it blew me away. So that's my number 4 movie, Night of Kings.
Bet. So now we're zeroing into our top 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, how many films? It's only one film that I am 100% sure that we both have in our top 3. And then the other 2, which I'm going to be presently surprised by.
All right. So my number 3 is most likely Lucas's number 1. The Father. The Father, honestly, look, hey, I love The Father. Like, there's nothing negative I have about it. Technically, my number 1 and my number 3, there's nothing negative I have whatsoever about either one of them. The performances. The honest truth is, out of the performances that are clear lock, this movie is the clear lock, in my opinion. If it's not, then there's something wrong from an Academy standpoint and foreign press. But this was shot well. This was directed well. The freaking soundtrack was amazing. And the performances were spectacular. And I mean, that's just me describing different variables about it. I'll let Lucas gush on it and what it's really about when he does it for his number 1. So I'm gonna leave that right there, and we can keep going.
Did we both already pick each other's number 1 film?
I mean, yeah, I already know what you're doing, bro. Look, I know you, dog. But we can go ahead. We can play this game.
Man. Well, my number 3 film was Sam's number 8 film, I think, which is Nomadland. I'm just, to keep this short, I'm just going to say ditto to everything Sam said. Frances McDormand is amazing in this movie. The performances, the shots are amazing. This movie is so well directed. I loved everything about this movie. Everything. This is, for a while, this was the must-see film of the year. And while it's not slipped that much because her performance is still standout.
Yeah.
With this performance with me, Frances has now elevated to the upper echelon of greatest actresses, or let me not disrespect her, greatest actors of all time.
Yeah.
At this point, like, there's nothing she can do wrong anymore in a film. She commands attention in every role she has. Yeah. It is outstanding to see her still at this level and still knocking out performances. But again, we already talked about this. I'm not going to spend that much time on it. But my number 3 film was Nomadland. So, Sam, now this is the only film I'm 100% sure neither. Well, not going to say that. Maybe I named it in my top 10. I strongly doubt it. But what is your number 2 film?
My number 2 film is absolutely not on Lucas's list whatsoever.
and I'm 100%. Wait. Before you get into it, so all right, now this is cool because my number 2 is in no way, shape, form, or fashion possible to be on Sam's list. So this is gonna be good. What is your number 2 film?
My number 2 is Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, definitely.
I told you that. I know.
I already didn't even crack my top 20.
I already know. When I got the opportunity of being able to see this, first off, I told Lucas, I was like, yo, I'm getting to check this joint out. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and Lucas were both anticipating great things for this film. But at the same time, I personally didn't have any preconceived notions about what the film actually was going to be. I just knew these jokers can act. I was like, oh, snap. Judas and the Black Messiah. That's all I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know anything else about where the narrative is really going to go. And I'm going to say this. If you are going into this movie, most of you guys have not seen this film yet. So I'm not going to go into the details of the why or the hows. I haven't even released out my review for it yet. So I can't really technically say but much. But if you think this is a Fred Hampton film, it is not a Fred Hampton film. I repeat, it surrounds him, it orbits him, but really, this film is Lakeith's film. This is Lakeith Stanfield's film. He is playing the role of William O'Neill, the man that technically single-handedly infiltrated and surrounded the situation that happened at the last moments of Fred Hampton's career. So for me, I loved both of these performances. I felt like this was Lakeith's best performance that he has ever really done. But then equally with Daniel Kaluuya, every time that he was on screen, like, he commanded it. Like, he was naturally in there. Now, both of these men don't look the age that it's supposed to be. I can get over that, because even though that was the case, they still worked symbiotically with everybody they were interacting with, from the different cast members. Jesse Plemons plays an interesting role in this one. I really loved his role in it. Lord knows they had Martin Sheen up in here as J. Edgar Hoover. I don't even want to say. It's just the thing about the way that this was actually filmed and shot. It was always this feeling of death and destruction and something being ripped away from somebody's, what's the word? Not just their purpose, but their essence. Every single character, there was something being pulled from them in different directions. And I love that part about the way that this goes. And I think that there's only one big critique that I can have about this, and it was the beginning and the end. The way that this ended, it should have ended very fundamentally different. And in the way that it began, I think that they could have really pulled it in a totally different direction if they chose to. But for me, this was easily one of my favorite films this year. I was all the way embracing of it. But I know for a fact, I know why Lucas feels the way he feels about it. But it was still and still is my number 2. And I haven't given it a score number, so y'all can't dock me and saying I'm saying anything about the film. But yeah. Judas and the Black Messiah. That's all I'm going to do.
I will say this. Whenever people ask why on JVS, why at times you get a review from Sam from a movie and then you'll get a review from me from a movie, this is the reason why. Because while we're on the same channel, we do a lot of reviews together, we are two completely separate people. Without going into any details about this movie, this movie is not even in my top 30. I don't get the same feels that Sam got from the movie. Like, we had discussions after I saw the film and after he saw the film, and we talked about it, and it was like night and day. Like, straight up. It couldn't be more different from what I got out the film to what he got out the film, which, again, that's what film critics are. Our opinions are not going to always match. It's just at times they do match, but at times we can have a passionate discussion about a film that one of us liked and one of us may have thought was just okay. And
yeah,
this is clearly the biggest jump out of this top 10 list of a film that I was like, it didn't even pop into my head to put this movie in my top 10. But my number 2 is a movie that I know Sam has not seen. So we're perfectly good here. I reviewed this film at the Middleburg Film Festival. At the time when I saw it at the film festival, I said, this is the best movie I've seen in years. This is definitely the best movie of the year. I didn't see a film ever topping this film. At the same time, I acknowledge that because of the cast, because of the subject matter, boy, it was going to go under the radar and people weren't going to see it. And the name of this film is Farewell Amar. And again, this is another film. I will read the synopsis of it, and I did review it, but I will read the synopsis of it so you know what this film's about. Reunited after 17 years, an Angolan immigrant is joined in the U.S. by his wife and his daughter. Now strangers sharing a one-bedroom apartment, they discover a shared love for dance that may help them overcome the distance between them. This movie, when I saw it, it broke me when I saw this film. I was in tears after seeing this film. When we meet this couple, they're meeting at an airport. And at the time when they're meeting at the airport, we don't understand just how uncomfortable it is. We have a man who may lean on Sam to say these actors' names, because this is one thing that stopped me from doing the review for so long, is I did not want to be disrespectful and get their names wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yes. This person's name is so long.
And he's also an actor in The Shy. And it's I can see, let me see.
Neter Guma
Mumbai Yeah. He in this film puts on one of the most quiet, powerful performances I've ever seen. As a man who's welcoming his family to America after being separated for 17 years, they give us hints that he actually, in that time period, started a life with someone else. And that person he started his life with still pushed him to bring his family over because she understood how much he needed his family. But during the film, during the uncomfortable exchanges with his wife and him trying to build a relationship back with her, we see him pining over the woman that he loves. He like keeps a stash of laundry in a closet that has her smell on it. And he keeps it there from every once in a while. He would just go and smell it just to get memories of her until his wife one day washes it and he loses his mind. We get the uncomfortableness of them attempting to be intimate with one another because the wife's pastor back home told her that was the best way to try to build their relationship back up again. And it's just amazing to see two people who were once so far in love now being perfect strangers and attempting to build something with one another while having this young lady here, Jamie Lawson, who's the only name I can really say well, who being a teenager is trying to adapt to American life while seeing her parents struggle with one another. And then we see her separate story of her building her own life, making her own friends. One with a young actor who I don't know his name. I'm just going to call him Junior because his name is Junior on Blackish. And him helping introduce her to America, her becoming friends with him, but still at the same time having a mom who wants her to still be contained in the culture from their homeland and not get accustomed to American culture. This movie is so powerful. We talked about Minari earlier today, and its family dynamic. This is that times 10. It is amazing as we just see how important it is to be around each other and be a family, and how if you separate, how you can still have enough love to attempt to build it back up again. So Farewell Mar is my number 2 film of 2020. I think it is out on streaming platforms now. It is an amazing movie that, unfortunately, because it is, and I'll say it, because it has the majority Black cast, and with, as you see me struggle with the names with the cast, with people who don't have easy names to say, people won't see this film.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part for me, for someone like me who loves film. That's the saddest part, when I can see a movie that is this great and know for a fact most people won't see it.
Ever.
And that's the sad thing about it, is that most people, kind of like the movie behind me right there, that I absolutely love. And it's just, sometimes as a critic, it hurts your heart, because if you're a film lover and a critic, it really hurts your heart when films like this doesn't get the attention it should. When an actor who puts on a performance that rivals any performance, I don't want to hear a word about Chadwick. I don't want to hear a word about Tom Hanks. I don't want to hear a word about Gary Oldman. I don't want to hear a word about any actor besides Anthony Hopkins that matches his performance in this movie. Because there's not a single person who can match his performance in this movie. It is quiet. It is powerful. You feel every bit of emotion he has as he's trying his best to build his family. And that's something that it transcends any race, gender, anything you can. You will automatically feel the passion that he has as he's just trying to make it work.
Wow. Yeah, and even when looking at as far as me watching this, it's more unlikely, because even if I'm trying to watch on Amazon, I'm probably gonna have to rent it. I have to pay money to actually watch something that I don't know if I actually am gonna like. Mm-hmm. And so from a normal consumer standpoint, if this isn't on Netflix, this isn't on Prime, this isn't on demand for free, it's a less likelihood that it'll get anything. So maybe, the Academy will recognize it. But will this fall into the same state as Minari?
Yeah. No, this is not a foreign film. That's the way. This is an American film. This is not a foreign film. And it's just, it bothers me. From the day I saw this film, I knew how great it was. And that's rare. I think movies are good a lot, and then after a while, they fall down a little bit to me. This movie has risen every time I see it. And every time I see it, I get a little bit more out of the performances. Like, if I can sit and say Anthony Hopkins' performance in Father is great, and Olivia Williams, or was Olivia Colman? Olivia Colman is just as great, then I can sit back and say in Farewell Mar, you get 2 amazing performances in this film. The husband and wife, and just what they go through to try to be together is outstanding.
Interesting. All right. Getting down to the brass tacks. Number 1.
We know what this is already.
We already know. We already know. On both ends, we've already called it. We've already called what our number 1s are. So, I mean, look, I think that one thing that we can equally say is that either one of these for sure can easily win.
Yes, 100% so.
Best Picture, like in every category, whether it's, well, actually, no, there's one place that I don't know. I think Father, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think Father may have an advantage because of such of an amazing performance from Mr. Hopkins. But my number 1 is this your Trial of Chicago 7. Like, on the simple premise that you have not only an amazing cast, but they work well together. I think I talked about this yesterday with my most entertaining side of it. But I can't stress enough that you got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you got Mark Rylance, you got what's my man that won for oh my gosh, Man, daggone. How many Oscar winners are in this movie? I just thought about that.
It's a lot.
Good Lord. Because
Eddie
you did play the judge. Yeah.
Frank Zabit. Frank, damn it, I forget his name. I don't forgot his last name.
Frank Glagila.
Yeah.
He's been nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these, they are heavy hitters in this. And Emmy heavy hitters. Because I just started looking at Succession. I didn't even recognize my man, Jeremy Strong.
That you're just seeing the best show on television, but that's fine.
Look, we're going to get into that a whole nother day. But I'm just saying that normally this doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Normally you have these many actors, they're competing off each other, and it gets, or either the dialogue is off. Like the dialogue was on point, it was funny, it was charismatic, it was informative. They learned more things from each other, and us as audience members, it was easily digestible, but we also were being informed, uplifted, and feeling hopeful, but at the same time being terrified because we don't want to recreate the situation that brought these men to the situation. Mm-hmm. In all honesty, this was the best movie for me this year, all around. There was no mistaking it. And it's funny because Lucas put me to this. Lucas was like, yo, you got to check out this movie on Netflix. I'm like, man, I don't want to see this, right, bro? I watched it, right? And then the next night, I was like, honey, we got to watch this. She's like, I don't want to see this. I was like, honey, we got to watch this. She loved it. And so, I mean, this is, again, the fact that this came out and this was on distribution through Netflix. Do you think that that was a good thing, or do you think that that was a bad thing? Do you think if this was a situation where this movie only came out in theaters and wasn't on Netflix, that it would have been getting as much buzz that it actually is?
I would say yes. It still would have got the buzz because remember, what made me tell you to watch it is that this was one of the most anticipated films of 2020. Before, I think it's Paramount, before Netflix bought this movie from them, this was an Oscar favorite. Like this movie had been talked about for about a year and a half, about it being Aaron Sorkin's next big film. And I think either way, this movie would have gotten attention that it did.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same, is that, I mean, some people have been like, oh, well, it's a good thing it went on Netflix. I think from everybody being able to have the capability of watching it, it was good.
Definitely.
But in terms of people recognizing it, I think that the buzz would have definitely caught fire. It would have probably made some money, to be quite honest with you. Like they would have got a good little penny out of this movie.
If we were open like our yesteryear normal, this is easily an $80 to $100 million movie. Like this is the type of film that would have built up slowly and gained money after money after money. It's too many great performances, and it's captivating. Again, the only issue I ever had with this movie was the ending. And then I said when we reviewed it, if a little clapping happens at the ending, it ain't gonna ruin it from being an amazing movie.
Yeah, like
this is an amazing movie, and you didn't even mention the best performance to me. I still think, like, man, Yaya's performance is outstanding in this movie, man. And for a movie to be filled with so many heavy hitters, and for him to have, to me, the standout performance in it, that speaks a lot.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to speak on when it came to Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because this is one of my favorites, and this was kind of like a offshoot. It's not like a spinoff necessarily, but there's different moments with Fred Hampton's character that does play a role in this film as well. And I got to see a little bit of the semblance of what was going on during that time. And even though it wasn't, but it was, like, they worked symbiotically to me, where it's kind of like this is all in the same ballpark. Again, this is also a growing trend because Mangrove, I could say the same exact thing. But again, I really did love the Trial of Chicago 7. I can't stress it enough. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up Lucas's really quick. Give me a second, everybody.
How you know what my number one movie is?
Look, Ninja.
You know,
it ain't up here. You haven't said anything
my
about
number
it.
one movie 2020 is Wonder Woman 84.
Get that trash out of here. Get that trash out of here. You are a liar, sir.
Well, it is no secret. My number one movie of 2020 is The Father. I gushed over this movie when we reviewed it. Sam talked about it a little bit earlier. The performance blew me away. The moment Anthony Hopkins comes on screen and we get to see him in this atmosphere of just talking to his daughter as she's having a discussion about another caregiver that he's scared away. And then we get to see how he scares them away by the slips in his memory. The way the director flips from him talking to his daughter to talking to another daughter who looks nothing like the other daughter. Then she's married. Then she has a boyfriend. Then she's moving to Paris. Then she's staying put. Then he's moving in with her. But is it his house? Like, everything about this movie, the setup, the score, the cinematography is perfect. And that's hard to say because you don't get perfect movies often. These performances from Olivia Colman and Anthony Hopkins are the two best performances of the year. Anthony Hopkins destroys me in this movie. Absolutely destroys me in this movie. I've not seen someone put on a masterclass clinic of what it is to be an actor like this. I want to say possibly since Tom Hanks in Castaway, where I am just captivated by everything that's happening. And yet my heart breaks as he's going through dementia and as he's forgetting things and he's forgetting moments. And then the outbursts of anger that happens with people with dementia, the outbursts of sadness that happens with people with dementia, to one of the toughest scenes I've ever seen in my life when him and Rufus Swell, am I saying his name right, Sam?
Yeah.
When we get a cutaway scene, we don't know fully what's happening, but all we see is Anthony Hopkins break down, start crying. His daughter comes in there like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? It's clear that the guy had been beating him, but we just don't see that part of it. It is an amazing film. It is amazing tour de force acting performances by both. For a first-time director who wrote this play to turn this into a film is astonishing. I couldn't imagine watching this film that this would have been a first-time director pulling off the shots that he's pulling off, just getting the most out of the actors and their performances. That's hard for first-time directors to do because you don't know when to pull back. You don't know when to tell them that their performance may be too much. But I'm guessing when you're working with somebody like Anthony Hopkins, that is never going to be a concern because Anthony just kills it. Like that's the best way I can put it. Anthony Hopkins' performance in The Father is just a clinic. It should be studied. Like if you're giving film classes, if you're giving acting classes, and you want to give a performance that people need to see to understand how it is to be a great actor, you put on a Father and just put it in certain clips. I don't even have to show you the movie as a whole. Put it in the clip as him being sad. Put it in the clip as him being scared as he doesn't understand the noises and he sees a strange man to him in his house that he doesn't know who this person is. See him being happy as he's flirting with the new caregiver as he's trying to be nice to her. See him be extremely upset when he sees this man sitting on his couch who he thinks has stolen his watch. See him break down as he's in a hospital room and it's like he's coming to realization that he may be all alone. Yeah. Like it is everything that's great about cinema is done in The Father. I love this movie on every level humanly possible.
And again, that was my number 3. So I knew where it was going for him.
Hey, the moment you didn't see it already, you knew then it's going to be my number 1.
I didn't say anything. So
I knew when I made the Chicago 7 my number 5. I said it then. I said, and I know said this is going to be Sam's number 1, and you're going to talk about it. We had enough discussions about it that I knew that was your number 1 film. But here's the
So
weird part. I want to say this. This is the weird part. When a film hits the top 5 for either one of us, understand it is easily could have been the number 1 film.
oh yeah.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
I could have flipped a lot of films, and The Trial of Chicago 7 could have been number 1.
Yeah. I mean, same. I mean, it's not like The Father couldn't be my number 1. It's just I'm trying to hold on to that. I love. No, hey, so you brought up really something interesting with Tom Hanks and Castaway. I didn't realize that Tom Hanks didn't win in 2001 for Castaway. That Russell Crowe freaking won
for A Beautiful Mind, right?
So it was, let's see, Russell. No,
Gladiator.
Yeah, Russell Crowe won for freaking Gladiator.
Yeah, I was mad that year. That made no freaking sense at all that he won that award. But I think they were making it up for the year that Russell did not win for LA Confidential, and they gave it to Titanic, when LA Confidential is possibly one of the 5 best movies ever made.
Yeah.
You can never depend on the Academy to actually pick who's the best performance of the year. That next to never happens. They pick the hot person for the moment. And unfortunately, it becomes a popularity contest in the end.
Yeah.
Because if you pick some of the best performances of the year, like a lot of films wouldn't win, a lot of actors wouldn't win. You get rare cases where they get it right, but when they get it right, it's normally because it's impossible to get it wrong.
Exactly.
When Parasite won Best Picture, that was a surprise because they shouldn't have picked that movie. Not that it wasn't the best movie, because it clearly was, but it was not in the Academy's window for that to be chosen. Yeah. When Moonlight won Best Picture, that damn sure wasn't in the category for the Academy, because that's not something that they award. When The Hurt Locker won, again, these are films that are out the norm for them. We're normally going to get a Bohemian Rhapsody being nominated for anything when, come on, let's be serious here. Or we'll get a Joaquin Phoenix winning for the Joker. Wow, a great performance. I can argue clearly that wasn't the best performance of the year, but it was obviously that he's going to win it. Until we go to this year, where we're clearly going to see Chadwick Boseman get nominated for Best Actor, when I could name 10 performances better than his. But we know he's going to get the nomination for it, and it's a good chance. Because he passed away, they're going to try to give him an award. Does he deserve it? No.
So then now it's that daggone. So Lucas, you're just open up a can of worms. I was gonna have us, the next thing we were gonna do is go into our top 10 movies.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that.
We got to do top 10 performances for sure. But I don't know how we're gonna do it, and I don't know if we're gonna ever have a list of what was the best TV shows this year as well. Because I know for a fact our lists are gonna be all over the place with that.
It sure is.
We've seen so much during TV, it ain't even funny on both sides. We between me and Lucas, you guys, honestly, we've hit every walk of TV life that you can think of. There ain't nothing we ain't seen as a collective.
Yes.
But in terms of best actor, who do you think gonna be the top 5? Let's go into spitball real quick.
Anthony Hopkins. Well, who do I think is gonna be nominated?
Who you think is going to be nominated?
Okay.
I mean, we can say who we know for a fact who should be out there.
Yeah.
But who do we think is going to be
nominated? Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey. Derail Lindo for The Five Bloods, which, come on, let's be serious here. Anthony Hopkins for The Father. I think Stephen Yu is going to get nominated for Minari. And maybe Sound of Metal. I'm trying to remember his name. It's slipping my mind.
Oh, Rami Malek. Oh no, not Rami Malek.
No.
Oh my gosh, how am I spacing out on his name?
And we just literally talked about him earlier in this show.
We literally were just talking about him. Riz Ahmed. I always think of The Night Of. I never forget him because
I think he's going to sneak in as the 5th, because I can't right now think off the top of my head a 5th for Best Actor. So I think he may slide in there. I would argue that besides Anthony Hopkins and maybe Steven, them other ones should not be mentioned. But they're going to be mentioned.
So this is what the Google has listed for their predictions. As Lucas said, number 1, Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Number 2, Anthony Hopkins, the father. Number 3, Riz Ahmed, The Sound of Metal. Number 4, Delroy Lindo, The Five Bloods. And number 5, Stephen Yeun, Minari. So Lucas was completely correct. Now this is where it gets interesting though. So now they have for number 6, John David Washington, Malcolm, and Marie.
Mm-hmm.
They got number 7 for Gary Oldman for Mank. They've got Tom Hanks for News and World, which I would disagree. They got number 9, Kingsley Ben-Adir for One Night in Miami, and then number 5, they've got.
They got to stop trying to make One Night in Miami something to no. You got to stop that at this point.
And number 10, they've got Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. So, in my personal opinion, maybe I shouldn't say it. I should just say that John David Washington should be in the top 5. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say who they should pull, but I think
again, you got my opinion. I just told you that besides Anthony Hopkins, the best performance from an actor this year is from Natir Mumwi. I think I'm saying his name close to being right in Farewell Mar. Like, again, I understand why they're going to try their best to give Chadwick an Oscar, but we're going to have to stop being realistic and tell people that Ma Rainey is not that good of a movie. Like, we're going to have to be honest about that not being that good of a movie. We're going to have to be honest that Viola Davis and Chadwick's performances, while good, aren't on the level of some of the performances we've seen this year.
That's going to be a hard sell, man. You know that.
I mean,
from people being able to look beyond, because some people don't even have the gumption to go and try to look at these other performances. They're just gonna be like, "Oh, well, shoot, they went for it, so we give."
You go right here. If we're being honest with one another here, if we're being honest with as a people, if I hate to say it this way, but I gotta say it this way, and I mean no disrespect. If Chadwick did not pass away, we wouldn't be talking about him for that performance. We're only talking about it because it's his last performance.
This is me personally. I don't think that he would be in the contention for top 5.
No.
Maybe top 10.
But it would be realized as a good performance.
But not top 5. Because even though here they've got like Jude Law up here for the Nest.
Like, hey, that's another performance I would put over his. But like
got John Magaro for The First Cow, which I hadn't seen. Heck, they even got my man Tom Holland for Cherry up here. I'm just so I mean I don't know.
Hey, we're gonna watch the Hollywood Foreign Press first ruin it because they always ruin it. And then we're going to watch the Oscars just fall on that same train. I mean, I would hope for something different, but hey, they're still trying to tell us The Five Bloods was a good movie. So there's no telling what they're willing to do at this point.
Hey, Lindo was amazing in that movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've seen The Good Fight. I've seen him be amazing in things.
Okay, well,
ain't it for me.
I ain't seen The Good Fight. And now I'm starting to like zone out a little bit. So we're gonna end it off here. And I think I might need to get some sleep. Hope you guys enjoyed our daggone. We gone for an hour 33, man. Gosh,
hey. We are serious critics here.
We really are. We really went for that, Jay. Hey. We went for it. Matter of fact, we didn't complain.
Exactly. Maybe now people understand again why we do multiple reviews on the channel, because clearly our opinions on things are not the same, not even close.
We come close, but
now when you pick Black Judas and a Black Messiah, We ain't come that close.
It's funny though. To be fair, as far as our lists are concerned, I want to say 65% of the stuff that we put in our top 10 were the same.
Mm-hmm.
About 65 to 70% was exactly the same, which is really interesting. Not the same position, but it was up there. It was up there.
And some of them that didn't reach the top 10 were like in our top 15 or something.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah. That's just, we're good critics, you guys. Anyway, we're gonna go. Hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. And we'll be back for maybe doing something on something. I don't know, man. I gotta upload our WandaVision. You're gonna see us in WandaVision in just a little bit. Hope y'all enjoy that. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Y'all have a blessed night. Bye, guys.